Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. We will have numerous live streams later this evening. According to Tom Homan, AOC possibly will get indicted. They might already be working to indict AOC. So it might already be potentially a done deal. Under 18 U.S. Code 1581 prohibits obstructing the enforcement of statutes. Oh, no. Prohibits obstruction of justice. And so 18 U.S. Code, basically federal statutes that prohibit impeding law enforcement. These are the statutes, I believe, that Tom Homan has accused AOC of breaking. So these are the crimes that potentially she broke during that webinar. I explained in a live stream prior to this one that AOC, and you will hear AOC, you will hear Tom Homan in a second. So hit subscribe and be here for the live stream. This is all a racket, ladies and gentlemen, by left-leaning politicians. AOC did not enact or push to enact any legislation that would amend or do away with sections 1325 and 1326 of the U.S. statutes pertaining to the border. Unauthorized entry. Okay, why didn't AOC pass any legislation or push for any legislation? Instead of doing a webinar, you think maybe if you truly believe, this is why it's a complete racket. They railroaded and cheated Bernie Sanders. AOC said nothing. Elizabeth Warren said nothing. Bernie Sanders himself said nothing. The Democrats have a primary as a complete farce and a theatrical performance. Yet they pontificate through webinars and potentially break the law. She's very likely protected under the First Amendment, but not when you impede law enforcement. U.S. border laws include statutes that prohibit unauthorized entry. These border laws were passed by Congress. AOC's in Congress. Why didn't she simply enact legislation that would have addressed sections 1325 and sections 1326? Okay. Instead, by the way, AOC is funded in part by Kaiser Permanente, $62,000, okay? And a health insurance company as she pushes for Medicare for all or single payer, okay? It's a complete racket. And by the way, there's 300,000 missing young people. Of course, it's a paperwork problem. It's a paperwork problem because potentially they're missing. Again, the left always comes up with the most absurd excuses for their inability to just pass any legislation that abides by their value system. But here, Trump proposed a dreamer pathway to citizenship. Democrats said no, which is true. And I have friends who are dreamers. I want them to become citizens. I do. I want them to become citizens. Trump proposed a pathway to citizenship. All he wanted was funding for the wall. But now it's, that's not going to happen because Democrats oppose that. But if you look at all the legislation, and you'll hear from AOC in a second, she pushed the Oyster Reef Recovery Act of 2025, funded by one health insurance company, but pushes Medicare for all. Gives a webinar that potentially broke the law, not covered under the First Amendment if you're helping people evade law enforcement. I showed you the statutes, but the Oyster Reef Recovery Act of 2025. Why didn't you want to, I don't know, maybe amend or do away with 1911 U.S.C. 1325, unlawful entry, failure to depart, fleeing immigration checkpoints, marriage fraud? If AOC feels, and if the left or Democrats feel, and all, governors, if they feel that this is simply draconian and unlawful or, breaks international law, they're all over the place, Democrats. If you feel that 8 U.S. Code 1325 is draconian, then why didn't AOC push legislation to either erase, do away with this, remove this statute, or amend this statute, or just do away with borders altogether? Because it's a racket. The Democratic Party and the left, or whatever the left is, it's a complete racket. Progressives, whatever. There is no such thing as anyone on the left. It's like a social club where there's varying degrees of allegiance to an alleged value system not shared by the Democratic Party. But really quickly, okay, so AOC asks Pam Bondi. She is under investigation, DOJ investigation, and we can see here, we can see right here. Let's continue. Hit subscribe. Be here for the live stream.
When one of these things comes to your backyard, you can resist. And what that happens over millions of people is that you generate enough friction that they cannot go as fast as they want to go.
So, generating friction, does that, when you are a U.S. Congresswoman and you want to generate friction so they don't go as fast as they want to go, are you impeding federal statutes that prohibit impeding law enforcement? Include 18 U.S. Code 1509, 1512, 1513, 1581, 18 U.S.C. Chapter 73. I mean, it's like unbelievable how inept. And the left is like, we're going to do all this and resist. It's like, why don't you change existing border laws, genius? Go and do that. And by the way, if you're on the left and you support a young maniac who ended someone's life, the CEO, granted, the insurance company was potentially committing crimes, possibly. Guess who was funded by one insurance company? Oh, that's right, AOC. Oh, that's right, right here. Kaiser Permanente, $62,000. Okay, so they're all over the place, Democrats, but let's continue here.
Make sure that you are slowing down this system.
AOC's office advising migrants on how to avoid deportations. That was a live webinar. Trump border czar Tom Homan now issuing a warning to AOC.
I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now. Sanctuary cities,
if you're on the left and you feel that Tom Homan is doing something unethical, then change the laws. Then why don't you ask yourself why AOC, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders haven't done anything to alter? Well, she might have broken these statutes right here, but haven't done anything to alter or amend 8 U.S. Code 1325, unlawful entry, failure to depart. These are federal laws and statutes passed by Congress, passed by people like AOC, who give webinars and potentially break the law in impeding law enforcement. Okay. Talking about slowing down law enforcement is not protected under the First Amendment. Necessarily. It probably is. But according to Tom Homan, it's impeding law enforcement. Okay, so according to Tom Homan, federal statutes that prohibit impeding law enforcement include 18 U.S.C. 1509, 1512, 1513. So, if you are impeding law enforcement on a federal level, and you are a congresswoman, and you're potentially breaking these statutes, it's not the First Amendment. It's not about the First Amendment. They literally tried to take Trump off of every ballot on the country for a speech. So Democrats wouldn't, they tried to imprison Trump on a speech. And then you had Chuck Schumer, literally threatening Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, and then somebody tried to take Kavanaugh's life. But here you have an issue with what AOC stated. Is this protected?
If these things comes to your backyard, you can resist. And what that happens over millions of people is that you generate enough friction that they cannot go as fast as they want to go.
That could be the definition of impeding law enforcement. Hit subscribe to this channel. Be here for the live stream. Thank you.